And you think 1 year of medical school entitles you to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind?
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes! Yes!
Hey everyone, welcome to Ajay and Nathan Discuss Movies, a show in which we discuss movies both old and new. Today we have a new movie directed by a really famed filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
As he made his new passion project that's in the theaters for now. Who knows when it will be out of the theaters.
Maybe next week.
Maybe
tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe it goes straight to streaming. Because we all know this filmmaker loves streaming.
Yeah.
My feeling is that my love is to see, like theater thousands of years ago, a beautiful movie in a large theater with 600, 700, 800 people, and become one with them.
But what is the movie, Nathan?
This is Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, his labor of love, his magnum opus.
And magnum opus is putting it very lightly.
Oh, yup.
Yeah. So, without no further ado, Nathan, you just came out of the theater to watch
I
it.
did. I literally just saw it like a half hour ago.
I saw it on Saturday, and it was 10 people in the theater.
Oh,
And this one guy rushed up to me after the movie, because I was heading out of the theater, and he comes up to me and says, "Hey man, how do you feel about Megalopolis?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's quite an experience." That's all I can really say.
It is an experience. Did that actually happen?
Yeah.
Did someone run up to you?
Like this guy with like a KN95 mask comes into I went up to me after the theater because I was heading out, and he started to rush towards me. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." He's like, "How do you feel about the movie Megalopolis? I just came out of the same theater." I'm like, "Yeah, there are issues with the movie. You know, all the scenes kind of were jumbled together. I can admire the humor of it, but the humor was a little off." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't understand any of the characters, why they were doing what they were doing." And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But
was this Francis Ford Coppola himself,
I asked,
undercover at the movie?
I asked him, I'm like, were you like the PA for this film? He's like, "No, but I'm, a director. I'm working for hire." And I'm like, "Okay, interesting. Take my card. I gotta go."
Cool.
Yeah, so that's my brief interaction with somebody outside the theater in our Megalopolis slots. But anyways,
Okay,
Nathan,
awesome.
how did you feel? I mean, before we talk about the film,
Yeah.
I already sort of briefly talked about how I felt about it, but what is the movie about?
Yes, the movie is about an architect, an entrepreneur named Caesar Catalina, who strives to build his utopia city called Megalopolis. The film takes place in the city of New Rome, and it follows Caesar's struggles to get his city built as he is dealt with opposition from the mayor of New Rome, played by Giancarlo Esposito, and also follows his blossoming romance with the mayor's daughter, and just so much happens. It is a big, ambitious, visually stunning, absolute nightmare of a movie that has left me broken and exhausted.
Yeah, it is. It's a letdown.
It
was a huge letdown for me. I was very much anticipated to watch this movie, and it was But anyways, what were your overall thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, my overall thoughts is I very greatly appreciate Francis Ford Coppola's ambition with the movie. I think it still has... He has such an eye for visuals. There are a lot of really just great visual sequences that are so hypnotic and chaotic. They're beautiful to look at. The production design is 9 times out of 10 very good. I love the costumes, but on the whole, this is a messy, incoherent movie that kind of throws a bunch of stuff at the walls to see what sticks, and almost nothing sticks.
Yeah.
It's just a very confounding experience that must be seen to be believed. I don't want to sell the movie too much because I think most people will go into it and come out frustrated, much like me. But at the same time, I think there is something there. I think buried beneath the manure, there is a good movie here somewhere. And at times you can see it trying to claw through, but in the end, it is smothered and mostly suffocates.
Yeah. I think the key word in there is incoherent.
Yes.
Because when I was watching this movie, and I really, as I said before, I really wanted to like this movie. I really did want to like this movie, but I felt as if maybe it was just my screening because I watched it with Spanish subtitles, which was crazy to me. That made the movie even more crazy.
What kind of day were you having?
¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Me llamo T-Bone, la araña discoteca.
Discoteca, muñeca, la biblioteca. Es el bigote grande, pero manteca.
You have like random just like couriers coming up to you just like, what you think of the movie? And it's just like, I don't know, most of it was in Spanish. Like, what?
No, it was in Spanish subtitles. It was English dialogue.
Okay.
Spanish subtitles.
What? What?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I watched it. I was like, this is a trip as it is. But while watching this movie,
Okay.
it's funny.
It's very funny.
It's intentionally / unintentionally hilarious.
Yes.
The thing with the humor is that there were times where the humor would really like pop out. But the editing made it so that we couldn't really live with the joke or breathe with the joke. Usually, like in comedy, we do stand-up comedy. Usually what you like to do with the joke is you like to let it breathe so that people can take time to laugh at it.
Yeah, exactly. We're authorities on this. We're very funny.
Yeah, very funny. we're the comedy policemen around here.
Damn right we are.
We are. But in this movie, it was just joke, edit,
Yeah, no.
cut to another scene. And that was an issue with the movie, as well as maybe it's just my screening, but the dialogue was very low.
I agree.
The sound mixing was not that great.
You're very, very right on that. There were moments in the movie where dialogue felt too quiet. It was weird. A lot of it, I noticed, a lot of lines were ADR'd.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
after the fact, and you could notice lip syncing was off. There's a scene with Giancarlo Esposito where he's talking to Adam Driver, and it's in a wide shot, and he's saying something, but his lips like they aren't moving, and so that's very weird. And as you said, the editing, it feels messy. It feels as though this movie is trying to be saved in the edit, and so they're just trying to use as much footage as possible, but also try to go as fast through the film as possible. And so it makes the experience feel very rushed.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that like there is a good film in here somewhere.
Yeah.
There is and you mentioned that. But the thing with the film is that not only is the editing makes it so much so that you can't really get that much invested in the film, not only is the sound mixing pretty bad, but the pacing as well.
Yes.
It's 2 hours and 18 minutes. It's technically 2-3 minutes of a shorter runtime than The Substance. But it feels way too long.
It's,
especially near the second towards the third act of the movie.
Absolutely. There's no real cohesion or build-up to a lot of the conflicts in the movie. There's several points in the movie where Adam Driver's character, Caesar, who is the architect for Megalopolis, like people are throwing things at him to try to stop him from building his city. There's a scandal between him and like an underage pop star. There's an assassin.
Oh, we didn't even get to that part yet.
Yeah,
we'll get into spoilers later
We'll get into
on.
spoilers.
But during that part, I was
Yeah.
like, what is happening here?
But it feels as though conflicts arise in the movie, and then 1 or 2 scenes later, they're completely just axed. Like we solved it, and just that's sort of how the movie goes. There's a conflict that arises, but it either goes nowhere or it's solved instantly.
Yeah.
And
Or it's
just-
never even brought up again.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning of the film, in the opening shot, it's Adam Driver's character, Caesar, overlooking an entire city, and he's able to stop time.
Yes, he is
At no
able to
point
stop time.
Does he ever use that power again?
Yeah, it's weird. He's shown to be able to stop time, but it feels like such a small thing, and at one point or another in the movie, he loses his ability.
Yeah.
And I can see kind of subtextually what he was trying to go for, maybe with the whole the artist can stop time, and like Laurence Fishburne waxes poetically about like, yes, everyone, time, there's not enough time.
I was
we
like-
lose time, we gain time.
Is this the movie In Time?
I'll give you 5 minutes for an hour.
I'll give you 10 minutes for an hour.
It's waxing poetically about artists and time, what they do with this time on Earth, how they are remembered in the future, in the past, and this movie is saying stuff, but it never feels like there's a payoff for any of the ideas. It's just like artists and time, and you're like, okay, yeah, what about them?
Yeah.
And then the movie keeps going.
There's a lack of execution on the messages that it's being introduced,
Yeah, again,
which I think that's an issue.
throws a lot at you, but it's just ideas.
And again, it's not the cast's fault. Like I mean, Adam Driver is serviceable in the film. I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's shown he's a really good actor. But
Yeah.
the only two actors, and we mentioned this off air, that were great were Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
And Aubrey Plaza, in my opinion, acted circles around every person in this entire film.
Aubrey Plaza is just amazing in everything she is in. She's definitely one of the best actresses working today. Whenever
Absolutely.
Aubrey Plaza shows up in a movie, TV show, doesn't matter, you always know that you are going to enjoy her performance. She is no slouch.
We should have watched My Old instead. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, probably. That seems like a cute movie. And then Shia LaBeouf, he's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Every performance in this movie, I had one of two theories in mind. Either no one was given any direction, or everyone was given different direction. Like as if everyone was in a different movie. Adam Driver, again, he is a fantastic actor, and like Aubrey Plaza, is no slouch, always gives 100% to his performance, but the way he is in this movie, it feels like, have you ever seen him, like, when he hosts Saturday Night Live?
I've seen that episode where Kanye was the musical performance. I remember that one.
But every time Adam Driver hosts, like, an SNL episode, he's always, like, he's doing more than most hosts do. He's always putting forth the best effort into the skits, even though it's like silly, goofy, haha, whatever. And that's the energy I feel. It feels like he's acting in an SNL skit.
I read it and could see that it was different, but I am not seeing what Francis is seeing.
There's one scene in the movie where he's got like bandages on him and he's just screaming.
Oh, yeah.
He's screaming his head off, and it's so funny. There's a scene where he's talking to the mayor's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funniest thing I've ever seen.
There's this quote during that. I think this is the same, where he's like, and you think 1 year of medical school entitles you to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind? And she's like, entitles me? And he just keeps on saying yes. yes. And then he caps it all off by saying, now go back to the club.
Back to the club.
You find me cruel, selfish, and unfeeling? I am. I work without caring what happens to either of us. So go back to the club.
It's hilarious. There were like people in my screening or in my theater that were laughing at that part.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I think I had the highest laugh of the loudest laugh in the entire theater while watching this movie during that part.
Really is so funny. There's so much of the movie that is absolutely ridiculous. And
Are we going into spoilers now? Should we get into spoilers?
I feel like we're at that point.
Yeah,
we
we're
might as
we're at
well
that point because it's hard to discuss the movie without
getting into details.
So, spoiler for now. Go to this part of the video to avoid spoiler talk. But anyways, Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's important that we discuss the virgin ceremony.
Yeah, it happens maybe midway through the movie. They introduce this like pop star character, and everyone's pledging to keep her a virgin.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's. It's trying to say something.
It reminded
there.
me of like back in the day with like Britney Spears and like the Olsen twins, and like,
Yeah.
how like people were trying to like bank on their virginity, or like by the time that they turned 18, there were like websites devoted to that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like sort of like commentary on that.
I could see it as that, and then it involves a huge scandal where they're like, oh, Adam Driver's character had sex with her, and it becomes this huge scandal that's meant to destroy him and his hopes of building Megalopolis, but then maybe like 1-2 scenes later, it's discovered, oh no, actually she's 23 and like not a virgin.
Love with Adam Driver.
Yeah, and actually it was fine the whole time. So conflict diffused.
There was a weird cut in the movie where like all of a sudden she just pops up on screen and just starts like singing.
Yeah, no, she comes back to do another song. There's a terrible fire effect. It's trying to say something about some topic, but it just kind of happens, and the movie continues on.
I see a lot of comparisons between this movie and Damien Chazelle's Babylon. But I think the difference between this movie and Babylon is that with Chazelle's Babylon, it was like this man had a mission to create a movie with intent, with an approach, with his own significant signature style. This movie feels all over the place.
It's all over the place. It definitely feels like a movie that was directed by an elderly stoner.
Yeah, I mean,
because I'm pretty sure that's what everyone said. Just like, oh, Francis Ford Coppola was just so high the entire process.
I mentioned this to you before the review. This movie, if you're going to watch this movie, it has to be on drugs.
Not that we condone doing drugs.
Yeah, we don't do drugs, but
you're an adult.
Yeah.
But if you really want to get into the mind of the filmmaker, you should be. I'm kicking myself because before I went to this movie, I was thinking, should I take an edible? Should I bring a joint, smoke it in the car real quick, watch this, have a good time? I decided against it, and then after an hour in the movie, I'm just like, this needs to stop. I'm so tired now. I should have done drugs.
I wrote in my notes, Adam Driver on drugs montage.
Yes, that. Unironically, I will say. Yeah. I did love that sequence because I think we started this earlier. Visually, the movie looks very good, and there are a lot of surreal sequences and images in the film that are very well done. I do legitimately like there is one scene very early in the movie. Adam Driver's kind of driving through, I guess you could say, like the Skid Row kind of area of New Rome, and it's all dilapidated. There's these heavy blue lights that shine on him while he's in his car. There's the big Roman statues that are crumbling around him. Visually, it's a very good scene. I love the atmosphere of it. Feels very noir inspired, and I just wish the movie had kept up a tone kind of like that.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately wasn't the case.
No.
How did you feel about Jon Voight?
He looked like melted butter, and I couldn't understand a word he said except for at the very end, one of his last lines is, "What do you think of this boner I've got?"
Yeah.
And then he pulls out an adorable little bow and arrow that he murders Aubrey Plaza with and shoots Shia LaBeouf in the asshole with.
Which was hilarious.
Which is objectively so funny.
Yeah.
But also, there's so many characters in the movie that you could really get rid of entirely. Dustin Hoffman is there. He doesn't really do anything, and he dies in a cutaway. inexplicably, and I don't really understand what the purpose of his character was. Jason Schwartzman is also there, and outside of a scene where he's playing the drums,
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to be in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there are issues with this movie. And that's putting it lightly.
It's a movie full of big ol' issues, but I want to be a little nice and say again, I appreciate that it does take big artistic swings, and it horribly misses and fumbles, but I appreciate that there is an integrity and an attempt to do something new.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, apparently this movie was I wouldn't say based, but it was like loosely based on the works of Ayn Rand.
Oh, I kind of got that.
I don't know if you're familiar with Ayn Rand, but she was very big on like objectivism, and, like individualism,
being a horrible all the time.
Yeah.
That's kind of Ayn Rand's bread and butter.
Do you believe that there is going to be a day where there's going to be a female in the White House as president, and how do you feel about that?
I wouldn't vote for her.
A person that hated government subsidies and government programs, but then accepted Social Security in her late age. That's what the work's based on.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that. The only thought I had a lot of the time during this movie was, I wish I were playing BioShock right now.
Really?
It's a lot of because I was seeing the Ayn Rand inspirations, and the entire time I'm thinking, wow, I hate Ayn Rand. I wish I could go with like lightning hands throughout Rapture and burn that place to the ground.
I will say the ending is good, where they learn to be able to coexist and work hand in hand with one another.
I did.
The original government and Caesar's new form of
His utopia. I will say, I felt the most emotional, like the person who I thought felt like an actual character was Giancarlo Esposito. Not only because I think he's actually giving like a kind of grounded performance, even throughout all the silly stuff that's happening in the movie. But it felt like his character he started one way and ended in another way. He actually, had an arc and some growth where he was very locked in with his way of thinking, but then, through his daughter falling in love with Adam Driver and wanting to build this utopia, he's like, I'm willing to trust you and believe that together we can build a better future. And so when he got to his end and he's like on the weird little horrible looking like golden stairway into the city with his wife, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Good for him. That's one solid thing in Megalopolis.
There was that scene in which there was a line that he said that was incredibly ADR'd.
Oh yeah,
and the subway scene.
Oh yeah, no, his lips aren't moving.
Yeah,
it's no, and I also wanted to mention the production design does look very good.
Yeah.
The costumes and a lot of the interiors, but every time there's an exterior shot, it's just New York City.
Yeah,
it's like
New Rome. It is basically no different than New York City.
It's like in the Batman movies where it's like Gotham City is a hub of crime, and then it's, I don't know, just Chicago, just wide shots of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't hate this movie.
I don't hate it either, but I also don't love it or really like it.
Yeah, and I do feel kind of bad for Francis Ford Coppola in this instance, because he did have a budget over $100 million. It made nearly $6 million in its first week.
He had
to sell shares of his winery to fund this movie. He was collecting checks from the 90s to make this movie, to fund this movie.
Oh no, not the winery. Oh no. Oh, my heart breaks for that man. Oh, he had to sell off his winery. Oh, the humanity.
It's an issue. I feel bad for rich people sometimes, and this is one of those instances.
Sometimes I do feel bad that it's definitely not a movie that's going to do well. It won't. And it seems as though reception right now is very much like 50-50. Either people absolutely hate this or I really think this movie is going to breed a special kind of it's going to breed.
In 5 years, YouTubers will be like, Megalopolis,
5
how
years?
this... Yeah.
1 year.
1 year.
Maybe a few months, you're going to see like 4-hour video essays
Yeah.
like, you're wrong about Megalopolis.
Things you didn't notice when you first saw Megalopolis the first time.
This movie is only made for people who can plunge the depths of the Emersonian
How
mind.
Megalopolis changed Letterboxd. Letterboxd, bro. I'll say it.
No. Letterbox.
But how do you think this will affect his legacy? I like how what we just squished into like a sports question about like LeBron.
How much of a hit is this going to be on LeBron's legacy if this squad doesn't make the postseason?
Oh, it's going to be a hit. Make no mistake about it.
How do you think this will affect his legacy going into the new season? I don't
think it'll affect it.
I don't think it'll affect it. And again, I think as much as we're kind of clowning on it, I do think there's still a lot to appreciate about it. Just the fact that he was able to get it made, the fact that he did put forth, he had to shut down those wineries, the fact that he was putting forth his own time, which is very important to the movie, and money into the project is admirable. And I think I can see this gaining a cult following.
Of course, yeah.
At some point, even starting now, it's definitely got its people who love it. And to those who truly love Megalopolis, I'm glad. I'm happy that you do. I wish I could see what you saw.
I mean, I really want to watch this movie again. Having said all that, the pacing does not allow me to do that.
Yeah,
because
no.
I really want to like this movie. This is a movie that I went in being like, I really hope this movie's good. I heard the reviews; they were quite divisive. I'm like, okay, this is going to be an interesting experience. But heading into the theater, I really, really wanted to like this movie, and there's a part of me that still wants to like this movie.
Yeah,
but I can't watch it a second time knowing that the pacing is that bad.
Yeah,
knowing the editing is so off, knowing the sound mixing is very low. And the editing is basically Bohemian Rhapsody, if not worse. You know?
So this is Queen.
It really is.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I don't think this will greatly affect his legacy, but...
I mean, no, he made 2 amazing films within the Godfather franchise that are still some of the best movies ever made. He made Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
He has made some spectacular films. He's a very prolific filmmaker. And even though this movie is 100% not for everyone, it's probably only for one person, and that person is Francis Ford Coppola. This movie's for him, and even though it's not for me, I can respect him putting it all out there.
Yeah.
It's not a twist, but when they are talking about Megalon, the substance or whatever that allows him to just build whatever, and he gets shot in the face by a 12-year-old boy, which is hilarious when that happened.
That's great.
That was
abrupt.
That was so abrupt, but there was a part of me, it's just like, something crazy is going to happen. When that kid asks for his autograph, I'm thinking, is something crazy about to happen? Then this kid pulls out a Glock and point blank shoots Adam Driver in the face, but they put his face back together with the Megalon, and I couldn't help but think, oh, so he's like Wolverine now, and Megalon is just adamantium.
Yeah.
And his face is just, it's this god-awful effect, where it's half like golden skeleton face.
And they were able to reconstruct him back to normal.
Yeah, no. And then immediately the next time we see him, his face is just fine.
Yeah.
It's as if he was never shot at all. Feels like a continuity error, but also probably just, it doesn't matter. It's Megalopolis. Anything can happen.
This movie, man. Anyways. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, no. Join the club.
What's that line in Social Network where it's like dating you is like dating a speedmaster? Or are you using a stairmaster?
Like using a I think that's the line. I don't know what a speedmaster.
Speedmaster. It's like climbing a stair. This is what it feels like.
Come on, you don't have to study. You don't have to study. Let's just talk.
I can't.
Why?
Because it is exhausting. Dating you is like dating a stairmaster.
Yeah, this is what it feels like watching Megalopolis. And hey, if that's something that sounds interesting to you or that you think you'd enjoy, then I'd say if you're curious enough, satisfy your curiosity and watch Megalopolis. If you really, really can't let it go, I'd say go for it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that if you're a fan of Francis Ford Coppola, if you want to be in a cult that finds this movie as an undeniable classic, you will enjoy it.
If you want to talk about it at the next Coppola wine tasting, it'll be a great conversation starter.
If you want to bring it up to your friend group at like a Halloween party, being like, you know what movie is very underrated, as you like, hold a wine glass and say Megalopolis. Megalopolis is a very architectural designed film. If you want to be one of those snobs, go for it.
Yeah.
But personally, for me, I'm saying this as a guy that wanted to like this movie. I was willing to love it. But by the end of those 2 hours and 20 minutes, and with the guy with the KN95 mask coming up to me right after, I'm like, this just makes me hate this movie that much more.
And I mean, hey, you probably learned how to say. Can you say Megalopolis in Spanish?
Megalopolis? No, I can't.
Oh, or is it just Megalopolis?
I think Megalopolis. I wasn't even looking at the subtitles.
El Megalopolis.
But that is a trip. If you're watching a movie with English dialogue with Spanish subtitles in the bottom, it is the craziest thing ever.
That's so fun. I can only imagine that was done on purpose. Like Francis Ford Coppola sent out different cuts of the movie to different theaters. He's like, this is the normal one. This is the director's cut. This is going to have Spanish subtitles just in case.
Yeah. I mean, if this movie was made by Sofia Coppola, this movie would be an undeniable classic.
I actually think this movie would be better if it were directed by Sofia Coppola.
Even the lesser Coppola sister, Gia, I think would make it even a good film.
There are a lot of Coppolas.
Palo Alto's a good film. Anyways, those are our thoughts on the movie.
Yes.
Stick around for the performances of Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza. Maybe don't watch it for the editing, the sound mixing, the directing.
Yeah.
The lack of a story, the pacing. Yeah.
Try some Coppola wine.
Try the Claret. I hear that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Claret's really good. Anyways, that's it for us.
That's it for us.
Bye.